Hi everyone, this is Dan, and this is StarBlades by Kyle Ritter, published by AllCaps Comics. And this review, I've had to think about this review for a while. I know it's been a while since I've made a video, and I wanted to try to approach this review as best I can. So some context is necessary. StarBlades is a crowd-funded comic book. It was on IndieGoGo. It is very late, though it's pretty much all but fulfilled, at least as far as this video's recording is concerned. Yeah, it's been a long story. Essentially, for those of you who kind of remember, when it first came onto the scene, Kyle Ritter, the creator of this book, both the writer and the artist, did an animation. It was absolutely amazing. And it really convinced a lot of people to back this book way back in, I think, 2019 when this campaign first started. And it took him quite a while to get to it. There's a lot of people that say there are many things that were a cause of it. I'm not going to go into that. But what I will say is ultimately it was late, and in fact it probably would have been even later if it wasn't for Ethan Van Sciver, who basically kind of came to an agreement with Kyle to publish this book through AllCaps. I will say this, in terms of the publishing, this book is quality. Like, this feels really nice. The embossed lettering right here, I don't know if you can see it, it's really, really cool. Print quality is excellent. And then I do like how they went with like a creased perfect bind right here. I like this. It makes it easy to read, which is definitely my preference for any kind of comic book. So also the fulfillment was excellent, came in one piece, was in great condition. Have nothing bad to say about AllCaps Comics or what Ethan did for this book here. Now, unfortunately, this book is an example of many things I've kind of read from Comicsgate. This is a book with profoundly cool looking art and design, but really flawed storytelling. For the most part. And I'm not even going to say writing, it's really storytelling. I don't think there's fundamentally anything wrong with Kyle Ritter's writing per se. It gets a little bit, I would say bland here and there. And I will say there's a lot of editing errors in this book, like a lot of them, which, I don't know what to say. So for those of you who don't know, Kyle Ritter is a deaf mute. So he's not going to be able to hear me saying these things. I'll try to see what I can do with subtitles to maybe get the message across. But he needs to hire a copy editor. I think a lot of Comicsgaters and IndieGoGo projects in general need to hire copy editors. They're out there. They're not that expensive. They will save you a lot of misery. You don't want your customers and backers finding these kind of errors. One or two is not the end of the world, but the quantity in this book is a little excessive, at least for me. And I'm not even that much of a grammar or spelling stickler. But anyhow, let's get into the book. So you got a great cover right here. Kyle Ritter has always, at least in my opinion, been an excellent cover artist. Unfortunately, probably a little too much of a cover artist, as we're going to see when we jump into this thing. So we open up to the book and you get sort of the introduction. I like the caption boxes right here, the star, citadel, etc. It's still very vague. He doesn't really explain whether this is some world apart from our world. Again, like a lot of these modern American comics, you have to basically assume certain things and then wait till later for clarification. I think the art of explaining the setting succinctly in a short amount of words is kind of lost in nowadays, but that's okay. And you're going to see something right here. So here's the first character. He's, through inference, this is Zareen. And then you also know this is Gardax. He essentially runs the Star Citadel, of course. And you can see him. He opens this door right here. And you're going to start to notice the early flaws right here. So you notice how like the angle shot, front facing, front facing, front facing, front facing. This is actually the most interesting panel in the first 2 pages right here with the bridge and everything. This actually looks really cool. You get sort of a side shot here with the background of the perspective, though this door is like really tiny. But yeah, what you start to notice when you go through this, and here he is explaining the world, etc., all this other stuff, the existence of the star metal, is you start to notice a repetitiveness to the way the art is going. And some people have claimed that Kyle's using 3D models or other stuff. I don't know. I know he's definitely using digital art. This is by far being done in digital right here. But I will say this, there's a severe lack of backgrounds right here, and he's explaining things through the caption boxes right here. But these images are kind of, at least to me, they don't have enough force. And it might be because they just kind of look like photographs. They don't really look like I'm getting immersed into this world that we have here. Though I will say, you know, the lighting effects and everything are very cool. This is very much Kyle Ritter. If you've ever seen his art, he loves to really mess around with lighting effects and gradients and stuff. I forget what the right term or technique in Photoshop that they do, but he does that a lot. But you're going to notice here that it's a lot of like straight facing, you know, angles and whatnot. And he does kind of change it up here and there. But you'll also notice that Gardax here doesn't really change his expression all that much. He also doesn't open his mouth, which again, that's not 100% necessary, but he is talking a lot right here. You kind of imagine him like opening his mouth. But so boom, we get open up. This is StarBlades, you know, and he talks about, you know, finding heroes to save the world that's in trouble right now. And yeah, I think it's called an indicia, or I forget the name of it. Basically, the legalese at the bottom kind of sticks out a little bit here. I kind of think it would have been better to have thrown it like on this page, but that's just me anyway. So StarBlades, art and story by Kyle Ritter. Really cool opening page. And here again, you're starting to notice just front facing, front facing, front facing. And then this is right here where he tells, you know, this girl, like, take care of the Star Citadel. I have to go save the world. My planet needs me. And he goes through this portal, and this is where it really starts to get really bad. Kyle Ritter's decision to just keep using the same angle shot over and over again. He teleports through a portal, right? You see him going through the portal with the same angle. He comes out of the portal with the same angle. We don't see any backgrounds, but he's describing like, no, it's not possible. The war has already begun. It's worse than I could have imagined. This is actually would have been a better place to put like more of an establishing shot, like make Gardax like really small and then show the world like on fire with people fighting or whatever, you know, vision Kyle had, right? But all I see is just him telling me over and over again. And this is a great example. Like, I don't mention this a lot because it's a writing rule that I don't necessarily think is a hard and fast rule. And that is the show don't tell rule. And StarBlades has a lot of, you know, areas where it just chooses to just blurb out what happens instead of Kyle just drawing what happens. And I'm not sure if Kyle just may not have necessarily the experience or the confidence to draw those kind of things. But I mean, here's an example, right? He goes through a portal, he sees this other stuff. Let me show you something. I think this is a fair example. I think for people who are fans of Kyle and AllCaps comics, I think this might be a nicer way to put it. Let's look at Cyberfrog #1, right, by Ethan Van Sciver, back in the 90s, right? So we open up, and you see, you get a bunch of headshots too right here, right? But if you take a look at it, he breaks out, and you can see right here, we're in an alley, it's kind of damp and wet. Basically, look at how much the image shows us of what's going on, you know, outside of just what the text is going on. Now, obviously, Ethan's dropping a bunch of captions too about what's going on. And then, you know, booyah, you see, you know, the first thing we see of Cyberfrog is him with the hook. So the original Cyberfrog's kind of a dick, but so he jumps into action all freaking Batman style. He freaking, you know, wrecks these dudes and saves the day. You get a story basically in 4 pages, right? Now compare that to like the first 4 pages of StarBlades, right? Here's a nice background and everything, but it doesn't really have anything to do with what's going on in this story, right? And you just see the same, you know, headshots over and over again. We're not really moving forward. It's just telling us what's going on, right? all I can see from this is I got a, beautiful building and these people come through, right? But, I don't really know what's going on from just the images. I have to read to understand, the world as it is, right? And that's to me, I'm not, again, I don't consider myself some expert or anything, but just my personal taste, I, would rather read this than this book. Just because even though this book, isn't exactly the world's greatest story, the sequential art and the writing really flow a lot better than this book, believe it or not. So anyway, we jump into it, and here's like Kyle Ritter special right here. Kyle Ritter, really, you could tell he does a lot of cover art or just pinups or just one or like, big splash pages and stuff. So here's a great example of it. And this is really cool. You see the snake, and you see the snake is huge with respect to them. You see them running and everything, and they're fighting. And then this guy, decides I gotta, do this. The other thing is that these two characters don't get introduced to like 3 pages later. like finally, that this is Warwick, and then this guy's name is what is it, Tyrus or whatever. But up until now you have no idea who this is, right? This actually would have been a good place for like caption boxes and stuff, maybe some third-person narration. But again, I'm just kind of noting things that I wasn't too fond about. But take a look at this. So he stops, he goes to face the snake. He calls on the spirit wolf, magic, whatever. Is a really cool double-page spread, though. It's kind of ruined by perfect binding. Again, I've said this before, but perfect binding makes double-page spreads and cross panels spreads really suck. So he does this, and then he jumps at the snake and punches it, and like, wait, what happened to the snake? Do you know what I mean? Like, here is where you would show like the snake getting like punched through and disintegrated. You'd have like this shot's cool, but this shot would have been better off as a smaller panel and then a bigger panel showing the snake getting its shit wrecked, right? That would have been a lot more interesting, and it would have also told us essentially what happened to the snake. Because what happens here is I don't know what happens here. It just says swoosh, and this was too easy. Something is very wrong here. Well, I don't know either. What happened to it? Did it break like glass or something? And then these guys show up, and then Kyle does the exact same thing again. So you see here, you get this big splash page of this character moving and forward, and you can tell like Kyle is very confident about drawing faces and figures really well, but he's not so confident about drawing the dynamic stuff. So here you see he gets punched, and then he gets slashed, but you don't see what happens to him, right? Does he get cut in half? Does the dude die? I don't know. It just shows this image, and then the next image is boom, splash page and people running, right? It's just like what exactly happened here? You know what I mean? Like, so much of the page is used up for these big splash pages, and it reminds me, a commenter brought this up recently about the image style of making comics, right? Where you have really low panel counts. Like, a lot of panels are used up for big splashes, big illustrations, big other stuff. And then the end result is when you get through the issue, not a whole lot has actually happened. Most of it was used up in like a 14-page fight scene. And it kind of reminds me here, like, not a whole lot has actually happened, but I'm already like 20 pages into this thing. And here you get another one. These are really cool, but when you look at it, when you look at a lot of these pages, right, they're really cool looking illustrations and they're really cool designs. But here's one where like he needed more of this, right? Here's a fight where he's fighting this dude, cracking this stuff up, right? And you needed more of these. Like, this is what you really want. Like, show the world and show the immersion that you have here. Here's this guy, Dryden. His world is getting destroyed. He's got saved by Gardax, right? And here's like maybe like a lady friend or a colleague who passed away in this fight. And so he's got to fight this DC character looking motherfucker right here, and they go at it and whatnot. And you get a fight right here. I like this. Like, this is some cool stuff right here. Like, again, this is great illustrations, but the story is kind of flowing like this character gets developed pretty well. And then when you jump over to here, let me go over here. So this guy goes back to the baddies to go get revived. A lot of it is very Saturday morning cartoonish. So they run into this chick and Nora while they're going out, traveling to wherever Gardax is telling them to travel to. And this chick has some sort of past with Warwick, the wolf dude, and they kind of eventually come to an agreement to just ally with each other. And then you get these big splash pages, Look at how like 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it. 4 panels to use up 2 pages. So she teleports them over to this other kingdom that's getting destroyed right here, and they run into this guy who's like a fish dude. He's like a Namor essentially. And he comes out of nowhere. Yeah, Kevik, commander of the etc. And then they run into this chick really fast. It really is like a mad dash to just dump all these characters over and over again. And I understand, like, he kind of advertised all of this all in one. But I feel a lot of it is just, it's too fast. And there's not really enough storytelling going on here. And this is kind of the weakness of having so few panels, right? There's a ton of pages in here, and you'd think like, oh, we'd be able to go over a lot. You know, it's almost like this is the actual thickness of the book, right? The rest of it is just illustrations and art. You'd figure like a lot of stuff, you know, we're going to go over like a lot of story. And while a lot of action occurs, not a lot of story occurs. So they run into this chick, and then they have some sort of suicide plan, and they go to fight, you know, the corruptors or the bad guys from before. I mean, I don't really know. And then we get this really long page explaining the background of Ghost Tiger, Honora. And all the time I was like doing this, I was like, man, well, you have like all this extra art. Why didn't you just illustrate like an 8-page or a 12-page short instead to kind of do this rather than give me a big old text box right here? This is like the kind of stuff that you would see like in a Capcom fighting game as like the background of a character. It's because we don't have the money. We spent all the money on the fighting game. We don't have any money to do like the actual story. But I mean, if you take a look at all these illustrations right here, like all this is just like cover art, right? And, you know, it's cool and everything, but yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I got to be honest with you. I really, oh yeah, by the way, I wanted to show you, like, people asking me like, oh, what kind of spelling errors are in the book? Well, you know, like right here, right? He summons the wolf thing and he's like, damn, Warwick, that was crazy. I've seen you do something like that once before. And then he goes back, it's something my father taught me a long time ago, but I try to avoid it. Spirit energy takes a serious physical toll. And there's a bunch of these in the book right here. Basically, you know, my guess is there wasn't a copy editor involved. By the way, for those of you who don't know, there's typically 2 types of editors. There's a content editor, which everybody dreads. That's the one that basically goes through and pokes holes at your plot and your characterization and your story, which, to be fair, those are usually really good people to hire too. And then there's copy editors, which are harmless. Those are the people you absolutely should hire. They're basically proofreaders. They're going to go in, find the grammatical and the spelling errors and point them out and get you to correct them before you publish the book. But yeah. So, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I was, I'm gonna be dead honest, wasn't super happy with this book. I mean, it's really pretty. It's definitely pretty. But as far as, like, am I interested in the story? I mean, not really. So, but, you know, that's just my 2 cents. You know, I'm not the most qualified person all the time to be talking about this kind of stuff. Anyhow, let's get to the art. So, one of the things I was always wondering about is what happened to the snake dude, because who's his name, Warwick, just kind of like, you know, he kind of just, so he takes his sword, right, grabs it, punches him, slashes, and then we don't really see the end result, right? Like, this was cool, but what happened here? I want to see this, right? And then, you know, he stands here like, I'm cool, and everybody runs away. And I was kind of like, well, why don't you just, like, show it to the audience, right? We'll even do the front-facing view right here and go, bam! Look at that. Ultra maximum violence right here. I don't know if actually these snake people actually bleed red. Maybe they bleed, like, a different color, like a purple or something. Or black, like an orc from, like, Lord of the Rings. But anyway, this was me kind of messing around with it. It's okay. I'm not really happy about the shading in some areas. I think I just got lazy with the brush pen. But, you know, I was just kind of messing with the design. I do like this character design. I think Kyle's like a really talented designer. Some of the stuff, like he actually has this stripe on his chest go through on his sage scarf thingy right here. And I didn't understand that because that didn't make any sense. Like, why would it go across the scarf and onto his skin? That doesn't make any sense to me. So I just kept it on his skin and just had him do that instead. But again, that's just me, you know, I'm just kind of messing around right here. Anyhow, that's the video, guys. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think. If you like this video, please hit the thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't subscribed, hit the bell for notification. If you got any comments on StarBlades or my art, leave it down below, and I will see you next time.